Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics video on the channel. It is Thursday. It is time for captains ahead of round 6. And again, I will apologise. Still a bit nasally, obviously getting over some illness after gatherings. That's fun. But we will get through these captains ahead of another big weekend of footy. And looking forward to hopefully picking some good captains for not only myself, but for you guys out there as well. So, yeah, last week, not amazing. I think we had Andy Brayshaw was pretty good, but TDK at 2 was a bit underwhelming and a few others a bit underwhelming. So hopefully get back on track with some good captains this week. So let's go through my top 5 and then top 10 for round 6. So coming in at number 1, shouldn't surprise many people at all that he is the top player for me this week. He's a top player for a lot of people. Zach Merritt has been on an absolute tear to start the season. So he is the highest averaging player so far this season. He's just a gun, right? We know this year on year. He just gets it done, averaging 119 points for the season across his 4 games, turning up in his last 3, 96, 138, 108, and 134 to start the season. So a couple of big ceiling scores. And I dare say that against West Coast, he's going to go big once again. Turned up in his last 5 against West Coast, 109, 110, 128, 111, and 118 is what he's done against West Coast in recent history. And I expect him to continue that ton run rolling again and go very well this week. Great VC to start the round as well, even though he is my number 1. Coming in at number 2, another guy that's got a very good matchup this week, it is Andrew Brayshaw. He has been fantastic as well the last 3 weeks. So he had a slow start, so 2 sub-ton scores to start the season. So averaging 104.8 to start the year, but 95 and 77 to start the year. A tag game against Geelong, and then Sydney where no one really scored well that game. It was a quite low-scoring fantasy game, but last 3, 110, 119, 123. Obviously, all 3 of them have been good matchups, but he comes into another good matchup against Melbourne. Recent history against Melbourne, 120, 96, 103, 137, and 94. So a couple of sub-tons there, but a couple of 120-plus scores there as well. I expect him to go well once again. Melbourne are the second easiest matchup for mids this season. And, I expect him to go big once again. Obviously, we saw what Merritt did to Melbourne last week, and I expect Andrew Brayshaw to go well. I'm thinking MCG, his marks have been down this season, but he's been getting the tackles. I think this could be a game where his marks could actually take a bit of an uptick. Obviously, MCG, big open ground. I expect him to get a few extra +6, maybe 4 or 5, get those tackles and get plenty of touches and put up another good score for us. So he comes in at number 2. Number 3, and I did contemplate putting this guy at number 2, Noah Anderson. The reason I didn't put him at number 2 is purely because it's away from home. It is under the roof at Marvel, but Noah Anderson's got a great matchup against Richmond this weekend. His history against Richmond as well has been pretty good as well. 126, 99, 134, and 141 in his last 4 games against Richmond. And, again, he has started the season pretty solid. Obviously, lower score last week of only 94, but before that, 117, 117, 92 and 94. So 2 sub-tons in his last 2 games. That's the reason he's bumped down to 3. I do expect him to go back over the ton this week against Richmond. Good matchup, good recent history. I just bumped him slightly down just because it is away from home, and we know that he doesn't score as well away from home. So he does come in at number 3. Really like him as an option if you've got him as a bit of a pod this week. Coming in at number 4, lower score last week, first sub-ton for Josh Dunkley, but he is my number 4. Coming up against Collingwood, who are a decent matchup for midfielders there. Start the season with pretty good form, 4 or 5 tons to start the year. So scores of 130, 111, 110, 116, and 98. And that 98 was looking like a big score up until slowing down the second half, which is interesting because Brisbane ended up running over the top after and then it coincided with Dunkley not scoring as well, which was interesting. But I expect him to go pretty well here. Recent history against Collingwood isn't amazing. Some low tons there, some 90s and 80s, but I do expect him to go pretty well tonight and is a great VC option if you've got him. I just think his form and opponent, I think, is a good recipe for a good VC into one of the guys above him if you've got a couple of these guys here. Coming in at number 5, I've got Harry Sheezel, so bumping a few guys that might have better matchups than him this week. But Harry Sheezel, Carlton are his favourite team to score against. So he's played them 3 times in his career, 134, 126, 119. And we've seen the last couple of weeks, he's just getting it done regardless. I know he only scored a ton last week, but he was looking good early and looked like that was going to be a lot bigger. I think this is a game that will suit him. He normally does pretty well in these Good Friday games as well. I think even though Carlton aren't as easy for sort of, I guess, they're a bit of a tougher matchup, I just think that this is a match where Harry Shears can go pretty well, and he's just gone into my top 5 because I think the guys below him either got a question mark or two, or maybe have a potential tag on their way. So Harry Sheasel is at number 5, and I think he can go pretty well this weekend, and I think the fact that Carlton are his favourite team to score against is probably something else that bumps him up there. I think he's averaging over 126 against them in his career. Coming in at number 6, and probably unlucky not to be in the top 5 for me this week, Nick Martin against West Coast. So 93 and 119 against West Coast last season, but I just think this matchup is just fantastic for him. Goes back to Perth, obviously where he's from. 121 last week, looked good. Obviously, I know it's against Melbourne, but I do think his form is looking pretty good. Obviously, he had a couple of sub-tons before that, but I guess the role is just a question mark for him. If I knew he was playing what role he was, probably would it be in the top 5. I just think with the role volatility, that's what bumps him just outside. But I think he's a great VC shout. He's the typical VC guy that could put up a ceiling score and would be a good one to be looking at if you're bringing him in this week or if you already own him. So I like Nick Martin. I've got him at number 6. Number 7, I have got Dane Zorko. So he's a little bit lower here against Collingwood. So we know that Collingwood can be good for defenders to score against. And Zorko, couple of lower scores, 79 and 90 these last 2 games, but I do expect him to get back to some form tonight and be he's a great VC shout, right? He's probably not someone you'd love to chuck the C onto, but as a VC, I think it's a great pick, and I think against Collingwood at the Gabba, where we know he loves to score, I think he could go quite well and be a solid option for you tonight. So I've got him at number 7. Number 8, I've got Max Gawn. So against Freo, Sean Darcy's trying to get back to a little bit of fitness there. I think that Gawn can run him ragged at the MCG and go pretty well here. Obviously, 118 last week was good to see. Decent matchup, obviously, against Essendon when Nick Bryan went down. Obviously, they're a tough matchup before that, but when it's just Sam Draper, they're a solid enough matchup, and Gawn got it done. And I think can do well once again against Freo at the MCG. Number 9, I've got Nick Dacos. So I know a lot of people have him a little bit higher in their captains this week. I've bumped him down slightly just because it's Brisbane, it's at the Gabba, and Chris Fagan has said that they're going to try a few things to quell his influence. So not really a tag per se. So I don't think there's going to be a ceiling score coming here. I think a solid score will come. And if you've got him, VC is pretty obvious, I think, if you've got him there. But whether he puts up another 130 or not, I'm not too sure. I think it could be maybe... I'm predicting somewhere between 105 and 115 is probably where I'm looking at for Nick Dacos tonight. And obviously that's probably the more annoying VC score, right? You probably want him going 120 plus to really look at him as taking the VC right. So that's why I've just got him bumped down the list a little bit, but I still don't mind him this week. He's still in the top 10 and think he can go pretty well this week. And rounding up my top 10 is Jack Macrae against the Bulldogs. Revenge game coming up here on the Sunday night, so I think he can go pretty well against the Bulldogs. Obviously, Bond's back this week, but I still think the Dogs have been still giving up some points. Obviously, Treloar's still not there, and I don't see a tag coming for Jack Macrae. Like Matt Kennedy's been doing some sort of stoppage stuff with players that he's come up against, but I still expect Jack Macrae to not get that. I expect him to go pretty well and put up a ceiling score against his former team, but he is down at number 10, just because I like a few of the other guys a little bit better this week. So some of the guys that missed out here, so Matt Rao gets Richmond. If you've got him in draft, good option. I don't think there's many owners in Classic. Could be a pretty good option still as well if you've got him in Classic, and I might have said Classic twice. I meant draft. If you've got him in draft, it's a great pick. But in Classic, if you got him, could be a solid pick as a VC, but not sure about... Well, actually, if you've got him in Classic, you could put him as a captain, but... I just like other options better and with potential more of a ceiling score than him. Bailey Smith, and it probably doesn't make too much sense against Richmond, but we know Matt Rao doesn't hit every stat line. Obviously, he can get the touch and get tackles, but the marks have taken a bit of an uptick, but they're still not to the ability of like some of the other guys where they can hit these ceiling scores. So that's why he isn't in the top 10. Bailey Smith against Hawthorn, solid option as a captain coming home because a lot of people don't have more than probably 3 or 4 of the guys in the top 10, I don't think. So BAILSDT could be a solid captain on the Monday. Hawthorn are just a tricky matchup, so that's why he's not there. But he is one of only 2 players in the comp that has turned up in every game they've played this season. So George Hewitt being the other one. Bailey Smith obviously missed a game, but it's turned up in every other game besides that. Sam Walsh I like as well against North as a VC. If you've got him, I think he could be a pretty nice, unique VC for you, and could go well against North Melbourne there on the Good Friday, the early game. So someone to consider. Lockie Whitford against the Crows. Crows are a tough matchup for defenders, and being at Adelaide Oval, I don't love him as a captain or vice-captain this week. You could put him as a VC realistically, but as a captain, I wouldn't be looking at it. I think there are better options. Jack Sinclair could be a solid captain on the Sunday night against the Dogs. I prefer him as like a VC type guy, but as a captain against the Dogs, I think he could go quite well there, so I don't mind him. Sarong against Melbourne, if you've got him, he could be in consideration, just not in the top 10, because I just don't think he's got that ceiling like some of these other guys do, but Melbourne are a good matchup. I do expect maybe a Tom Sparrow to go to Cave Sarong, so that could be another reason why you don't look at him. But yeah, he's not a bad shout this week. McCluggage, if you've got him, could be a really good shout. He's been in really good form, so if you've got him, he could be a good consideration for you. Marshall, he's been a bit poor the last few weeks, so I'm probably not looking at him, but it's a good matchup on paper against Tim English, so he could get back to some form. Tristan Cherry, I have got a feeling he actually could score a ton this week. I think he could actually get back to some better form, but I wouldn't be looking at him captain. We need to see a week or two of him going 110, 120 before we start putting him in captain consideration. And a lot of people are looking at training him outright, so we're not looking at him. John Dawson could cop a tag this week, so he's not my top 10. Don't love the matchup, and if he does cop attention, obviously there's a lower score coming, but I'm not sure if it'll go to him or Rankin. That's what'll be, I guess, the query this week, but I wouldn't be looking at Dawson as a captain or vice-captain this week, unfortunately. Tom DeCoding, if Pitney's not named, could be a shout. But if Pitney is named, and it is against Cherry as well, so it's a tough matchup, I'm probably not looking at him this week. Tom Green's a solid shout as well against the Crows. I just think there are better options this week personally, but he's not a bad shout at all. Then you've got some other guys, like Rosie I'm not looking at with the Sydney matchup. Flanders could be a shout with the Richmond matchup there. You could look at him. Lockie Neal tonight could be a decent enough option there. I think Holmes gets the beginner's tag, so I wouldn't be looking at him, and yeah, a few other guys here. Nasai, probably not a captain option, probably doesn't have that consistent ceiling. But they would be my top 10. That's how I'm ordering them this week. I have thought about putting Nick Martin into the top 5 and bumping Sheasel out. But besides that, that's pretty much what I'm looking at as my top 5 options this week. My plans this week, I've only got 2 of the top 10. So that's what I'll be doing this week. So I've got Andrew Brayshaw and Jack McRae. So I'll be going Andrew Brayshaw VC into Jack McRae as my captain on the Sunday night. I would love one of these other guys this week, like Merritt, Anderson, Dunkley, Sheasel, Nick Martin. These guys, I think, are going to go big. Unfortunately, don't have many of these guys. So this will be a week where I'm light on captain option. So Brayshaw VC into Jack McRae for me. But let me know in the comments, guys, who you guys are going with your vice captain and captain this week. And any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll get to them when I can. No watch long tonight. Obviously, still feeling under the weather, so I'm just getting normal content out this week. So no watch long tonight. Not sure if we'll do one tomorrow night. We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. And then won't be doing one Saturday because by the time I get home for the Crows game, it'll be too late. So maybe this could be another week where there isn't a watch long. Unfortunately, I'd love to get one in this week if I can tomorrow night. But obviously, we'll just see how I'm feeling. But if not, we're back on Sunday. No, sorry, not Sunday because the Easter Monday game. We're back on Monday afternoon after the last game, after the Hawthorn and Geelong game, recapping the round. And I believe we've got Jeppa jumping on this week. So it'll be good to chat to him and recap round 6. So good luck this week, guys. Obviously, we'll chat to you tomorrow for our pre-lockout chat. 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time is when we'll be live. Looking forward to answering a heap more of your questions there. But good luck this week. Hopefully, you guys smash out a captain score. Make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. If we get 100 likes, that'd be fantastic. That'd be the goal there. So make sure you smash a like. It takes 2 seconds of your time. We very much appreciate it if you can do that. Good luck this week, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for our pre-lockout chat. So thanks, everyone. Catch you then. See ya.